so much for coming back. You said you'd come back.
We said we would.
You've made your promise. Also, we're really pleased that the proceeds of tonight's event can go to the Typhoon Relief Fund for Philippines and also a community charity. Before we start some of the questions, a couple of facts. Over 12,500 people have seen The World's End at Broadway Cinema.
That's great.
And a number of people have specially come to Letchworth to see World's End from all over the world.
Really?
Including someone from Vancouver.
Nice.
Where's the Vancouver person?
What, tonight?
Not tonight.
Oh,
And it's been screened here a total of 147 times.
Go Letchworth! That's great. That's fantastic.
So, that's fantastic. And before, I just want to ask a quick question myself, and that's in the DVD of the film. If there was an extra that's not on it that you could have had, what would it have been?
I think it's a really exhaustive DVD. Everything we could have put on it. We kind of packed it chock-a-block, didn't we?
yeah, I think we put on everything that we could have put on. That's a good question. If we think of something, we'll come back to it.
There was that time when the five of us did that scene naked. That would have been good.
We did do this thing on the first two DVDs. We had this scene. It was on Shaun of the Dead. It was just a goof on the last day where Simon and Nick did their scene as Michael Caine and Sean Connery. And then we did it again on Hot Fuzz. And on The World's End, we were so up against it schedule-wise. Like, we had so much to do that we never got round to it. And we were always kicking ourselves that we never did it. So I think it's on the DVD as well. It's definitely on the Blu-ray. Like, to compensate for that, we redubbed the entire trailer with Michael Caine and Sean Connery. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's really silly. So if you already have the DVD or the Blu-ray, it's hidden in the trailers, but it's exceptionally silly.
It's called The Man Who Would Be Gary King.
Questions?
Straight out. You, madam, you were the quickest.
Yeah.
Blonde hair.
You the blonde hair.
Well, we've come to an end, and we were taken over by robots. We had to emigrate to planet Mars. What are the two objects you can't take with you?
Long question. What are the two objects in the event of a planetary escape, Edgar?
Yes.
Two objects to take with you to the planet Mars, including your mum.
Let's say a packet of Jaffa cakes. And what book could you read over and over again? Let's say Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What about that?
Well, for me it would be the one book, obviously the only book for us, and a book that's very special this time of year, and I know that a lot of us here. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
I thought you were going to say your own biography.
My book. No, I think, that's two is so little. Jesus. I think I'd have to take my house and everything in it, and my autobiography in all the bookshops, and some bad ones.
It kind of sounds a little bit like Desert Island Discs.
I know, yeah.
Maybe you should start a program called Desert Island Films.
I think there is. I think I've done a few things like that
Yeah.
sometimes about, when you track the films of your lives.
Yeah.
And Edgar and I have similar films that sort of inspired us at certain times. I think that's why we became friends, really, because we kind of bonded over Dawn of the Dead, funnily enough, George Romero's film. So I think we have similar Desert Island films, although Edgar's got some caught in there because he has an encyclopedic knowledge of film.
I was going to ask, was it weird being in the cinema whilst the cinema is on screen?
Yes.
Because the only time I've ever had something like that is there's this John Wayne film called Brannigan, where he plays a cop in London. And when we were promoting Hot Fuzz, I did this little festival at the ICA on Pall Mall or the Mall? I get confused.
The Mall.
The Mall. So doing this festival of cop films, and one of them I showed was John Wayne in Brannigan, because it's pretty silly and it's 70s cop film, but with him in London. And at one point in the film, the baddies walked past the cinema, and everyone in the cinema went, "Hey!" It's like a very surreal experience, thinking, I'm sitting in there, and they just walk past it.
It's like in Blazing Saddles when they're watching the film and then they go outside and it must be strange. You know, it's not a pub. That's the weirdest thing. It's not a pub. It's a cinema.
The interior is miles away as well. The interior is in Chalfont and Giles.
That's it.
Made up name.
Have you any idea how many people have paid to go and see it yet so far?
For reals in the real world?
Yeah.
It's been like 50 million or something, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't done the maths of how much ticket prices cost. So
It's very strange.
It's the paying the going rent. So whatever that is, but.
I don't know.
it's too hard a maths question, right?
Are you a teacher?
No, I noticed it entered the charts on the first weekend at number 4. The second weekend it went up to number 2. The third
Yes.
weekend it dropped to number 7.
We got badly hit by the weather actually in this country because it was very, very hot when it came out and everybody suffered.
We were only kept off the number 1 spot by Monsters University.
You can't go up against a kids' film in the summer holidays. It's just it's not a thing.
But
it's
it
very
did have,
strange.
out of the 3 films, it was the highest opening in the States, which was great. And it was, I take personal, like last week I was in Los Angeles and they showed all 3 movies in a row. And I can't tell you what a trip it is to be sitting in Hollywood watching Crouch End, Wells, Somerset and Letchworth on the big screen. So you should be very proud of yourself. Just like seeing it around the world and seeing kind of like, you know,
And that was at Grauman's, right? That was at a very famous cinema on Hollywood Boulevard where, you know, all our favourite films premiered and...
Well, the premiere for this movie was at the Cinerama Dome, but it's so great seeing, you know, one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is like sort of putting the England that you don't usually see on the big screen, you know, the places where we live, you know.
And for example, in LA, how much of the kind of there's a very particular sense of humour. How much does that kind of translate?
They get it completely, you know. There's a rich vein of people. There's this kind of myth about America that, oh, they don't get irony. But you think about, you know, Monty Python played the Hollywood Bowl there to a sellout crowd. There is a degree of social irony which Americans perhaps don't use as much like we do. We're very dry, you know. We're so ashamed of ourselves. We can't say anything seriously. You know, anything emotional, we're like, oh, whatever, fuck me. But you know, in terms of appreciating it, and I think they particularly appreciate the foreignness of it. You know, we've always been resolutely British in what we do and tried not to be transatlantic, tried to have them come to us. And I think as a foreign audience, they really appreciate that. And I get very passionate about it. And it was lovely to do a tour. Myself and Nick and Edgar did a press tour across many, many cities. And it was like being in a rock band. It was awesome, but without any of the funny business.
They didn't understand the phrase wide-ons, but other than that, they understood everything.
This is a question, but it's also a bit of a plea. Will you ever do any sort of follow-up to Space? Let us know.
I think somebody asked us that last time we were here, and the answer remains the same, and you're not going to like it. Probably not. I mean, I think there's something about those characters that you want to... One of the nice things about doing these films is that we've been able to kind of like get older on screen, if that makes sense. And something about like...
Got younger, I think.
But there's something about, I don't know, I can't speak for it. But, yeah, I can't really speak for it.
You can't speak at all. But,
well, Simon just wrote it, but you would agree, like, there's something about keeping those characters in their youth.
there are many, many reasons why I would love to do it again, but there are far more reasons why we can't do it again. One of them is that it has to be myself, Jessica, and Edgar, and it will be very hard to tempt Edgar back into working on tiny television programs when he now has to. I'm not. Edgar, when you watch it, you can always see that Edgar was destined to be a film director. He was using cinematic language on television at the time. Part of the joke of Space was that it was a very cinematic language. You know, Jessica and myself, I don't think we particularly want to go back to the kind of conditions we made that show under. You know, it was very hard, and we didn't have much to do it with. And I think to make the show, honestly, we'd have to be in that situation again. Now it would be just a bit, I don't know, it'd have to be about being 40 and a film star. You know, and then we were like, we were just struggling and didn't know where to live, and we kind of were those people. I'm so fucking out of touch now. I've got 2 dogs and all sorts of stuff.
Gentleman in the check shirt.
Hey,
Hey there, buddy.
hey, what made you choose Letchworth everywhere?
Well, I think I told the story before, but I'll tell it again, is that I think like February 2012, I mean, it's sort of, I think when you always write something, you always have your hometown in your head. And yet, I'd already shot in my hometown with Hot Fuzz. That was Wales and Somerset. But we, the first like location scout we went on, we went to like Letchworth and Welwyn Garden City because they're both, you know, the architecture remains pretty intact from like the sort of the 1910s. So they're both very like sort of unique looking places. And I wanted somewhere that looked different because we wanted to shoot in a, we'd actually written it as being in a garden city. We wanted something that looked different from London and different from Wales and Somerset. So I came here, I think in February 2012, and we initially dismissed it because we thought, there's not enough pubs, you know, to do it, like, because it was, as you know, it was a dry town. Of course there were some pubs now, but like, then we kept kind of, I remember like we kept going to other places. I remember having all of the photographs, and it was actually our cinematographer, Bill Pope, who's American, who was looking at this with a sort of a foreigner's eye. And he was looking at, he goes, all of these other towns look the same except for these ones. And I said, oh, that's Letchworth and Welwyn Garden City. I said, they're really interesting, they don't really have that many pubs. And then we just both paused for a bit thinking, well, then we just have to make some pubs. And hence, it's like Mermaid. So that was the thing. So then we combined the 2 towns together. And, you know, and I guess, what, 8 of the 12 pubs are real? And the rest of them are...
Did I also ask? Simon. Keep killing it for that. Do you also film more dog?
Do I do what, sorry?
Film more dog.
Film more dog? I don't know what you're talking about.
There's an advert of a cat. And
No. Next question.
The first question was great.
Right, a simple question from a simple gal. The nickname the Cornetto trilogy, strawberry, mint, or chocolate for both of you?
I do like the mint ones.
I like the new ones.
This lady's shaking her head. She disagrees. But what do you like better?
You like some children or something.
You can eat your strawberry and I'll eat my mint, and we never need fall out.
Maybe we don't have to argue then. You can
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get like a mixed pack, there's no fighting. If we get a mixed pack, who's going to get the mint? It's in tears.
Let's just have a show of hands. Who likes strawberry best? Who likes the Classico, the blue one? And who likes the mint one?
Whoa.
In your face, lady. That was like, well, I didn't actually think it was going to go that way.
You, sir, we've done that.
Hello, hi. Several of us here tonight from the Film and Television Production course at the University of Berkshire. And we're just, I would just like to know, it's been a while since you did Fist on the Fingers. What's changed in the time since, and how best could we try and do a similar thing?
What he's referring to is a film that I made when I was 20 years old. Shaun of the Dead is not my first film. I made a film straight out of art college that was incredibly cheap. So the things that have changed is that when I did that film, like...
Your balls have dropped.
There's that. What else has changed? When I did it, for starters, I wasn't really working with proper actors. They were all my friends from school. And little did I know that this guy was only like 30 miles away, because I made it in Somerset, and you were probably still at Bristol. No, maybe you'd already left Bristol by then.
What year was it?
1994.
I was in London by then, yeah.
But you know, but the irony is that we grew up near each other, and obviously like didn't know each other. Although there's a second part to that, but we'll come back to it. But I don't know. I think that just advice is you just got to be really tenacious, and you got to not be worried about making mistakes. I think some people kind of like get so frustrated that what's in their head is not the same as what they've made and might give up. And like it takes a long time to get there where like what you can see and what you can make are the same thing.
I think it's a lot better now. You know, you have a platform with the internet now. You have a platform that, you know, without any middleman, you can put something you've created to an audience, you know, and potentially get it seen by people that could further your, you know, adventures into the film world. So it's actually, and now you can make a film on your phone. You know, I mean, it used to be that you would have to cobble together a video camera or rent equipment. Now you can edit, film, you know, use different lenses on a phone. It's a really good time for it, you know. You just got to get out and do it and not take no for an answer, really.
Yeah, so do the blanks really represent authority, conformity, or given the blue blood, aristocracy?
Oh, good question. I think the blanks, yeah, they represent many things, really. I mean, in terms of, I mean, the fact that they fall apart on a very basic level, the fact that they come apart so easily is they're kind of a little bit like action figures. You know, the more the boys regress, the more they get drunk, the more they kind of become like they were when they were children. And the blanks, on a physical level, represent like toys almost that they used to play with. That's why they come apart so easily. But yes, they represent the sort of homogenization of the high street, the sort of the Londoning of every town in the country, this sort of faceless takeover. You know, they're trying to do to Earth what Wetherspoons is trying to do to every pub in the country. And the blue blood stuff really came from the idea. Edgar's sort of point was that you know, when you're at school and you break a pen, you'd always come home with ink all over. Every day you come home with ink all over. You know, you're mad, and you get a big stain in your trousers. And that was another sort of aspect of their regression, was that they're covered in ink like they were children, you know, and so they're multifaceted metaphors, you know, like the zombies in many ways. The zombies, I guess, in Shaun of the Dead were all about the anonymity of city living and, you know, being literally eaten up by a collective, becoming part of a sort of, you know, this sort of shuffling mass. And the blanks are a slightly more sophisticated take on the loss of identity, you know. But yeah, the Blue Bloods at one point, we do actually pretend, well, we sort of suggest calling them Blue Bloods, but I don't think it's a monarchical reference. Could be a class thing. Yeah, I think also we wanted in this one what they're offering is not necessarily that bad. It's like they don't want to destroy the Earth, they just want to make it more efficient and tidier. But of course our hero is not going to have any of that. So we liked the idea that like sort of, you know, in a film like this you can only offer you know, kind of, it's one way or the other. There's no kind of happy middle ground. It's either like go with the aliens or live in the Dark Ages. So we kind of thought that you know.
I think it also says that what is the price of control and authority? What is the price of, you know, because what the blanks were basically offering to do was to smooth out all our rough edges and create a planet which was nice, you know, and sort of capable of interacting with other planets peacefully and making a nice place to live. What they were offering was actually kind of good, but it came at the price of free will. Now, there are lots of arguments like that in our society. I mean, you know, if you look at America and gun control, maybe there should be somebody to tell people what to do there. Maybe there should be somebody to tell people that they shouldn't have that kind of weapon. But because people are so invested in their own freedom, they don't want that control, you know. And so, time and time again, people die, you know. And it's our society similarly. We want to be led and we want to be looked after and, you know, controlled to a degree, but at the same time we want to be able to do what the hell we want to do. We want to have a good time. So we don't offer any answers there. It's just a sort of, there you go.
If you want to eat a mint cornetto in November, you can do it. Free will.
Right now.
Just very, very quickly on the sort of effects in the film. Clearly, that's I would imagine the biggest effects budget of all three films.
Yeah.
And did you? I mean, is it chicken and egg? Do you sort of say, well, I want to do this, and therefore I need to have the effects and an effects budget that does that, or is it the other way around?
Well, no, you write the script and then you sort of like figure out how much you can make it for, and it's usually the ideas always exceed the budget, so then you just have to be creative. I think this time last year we were shooting on the Broadway with that scene where they're running down the street with the blanks, with the glowing eyes. And even in that bit, like with that bronze sculpture, I think if we'd had a bit more money, I probably would have put more of that in.
Right.
You know, it's probably the one thing that's like, or if we had some more money, I probably would have had more of the robot attacking. But
sometimes that kind of necessity ends up being the mother of invention, and you sort of, you know, we had things in the script like these sort of mega blanks that formed, which were like blanks that all joined together, and in actual fact, that became the twin bot with the legs for arms, and it kind of seemed more logical that one might malfunction and join back up wrongly. You know, we had big ideas that we just got a bit more economical with, and I think they ended up probably better, you know.
Yeah.
But I think special effects in terms of, you know, what we achieved on the movie, our effects team is amazing, and we were doing stuff that 3 or 4 years ago you would have had to use a green screen for, and now they don't need it anymore, you know. So a lot of those, there's a shot in the beehive fight when I think Rosamund is rescuing Eddie, and she knocks off a hand, which is real, and then she knocks off a head, which is digital. And, you know, so many times when you just see blue splats, sometimes they were real, sometimes they weren't. And I really find it hard to tell the difference between the two.
I mean this in the best way. You are both obviously big nerds. With people like Michael Fassbender and Duncan Jones moving into video game adaptations, would you ever do it? Which would you pick? And can it be done, or is it all like UA Bowl stuff?
Do you mean like in films that are video game adaptations?
Yes, yes.
I'm sort of slightly torn about that, because I find that the generally video games, the concepts of video games have to be sort of like repetitive and, you know, and simplistic in a way in order to facilitate the gameplay. So if you make a film of a game, the reason this happens is because the video game industry outsells the film industry by 3 times. It's a massive, massive industry. It dwarfs the film industry. And so filmmakers think, oh, well, a lot of people play, you know, Frogger. Let's make a film. that's how old I am, by the way. Let's, you know, loads of people go see it. It's a slightly kind of cynical marketing ploy, really. I don't know of a good. Has there been a good video game film? Say again? Street Fighter? Yeah, right. Kylie, that one. Yeah. Silent Hill's okay. Silent Hill's visually pretty good, but it didn't set the world on fire, you know.
Wreck-It Ralph doesn't count because Wreck-It Ralph is inspired by video games. I mean, the film I did, Scott Pilgrim, was inspired by video games, but it wasn't based on one. If you're making a video game film, it can never be. If you're watching somebody else play a game, it's not as fun as playing the game, and that's exactly the same as watching a video game adaptation. So I think it's really tough to pull off. However, I hope Duncan Jones does it with Warcraft, because maybe he's the guy to change it.
But that's not a video game, is it? That's more like a sweeping role-playing narrative. You can probably get. It's not like you've got to get up, grab a pill, run along, use a key, that kind of thing.
Once we were asked to, after Shaun of the Dead, we were asked to rewrite the film Doom, and we didn't, but I thought it'd be funny that our rewrite would just be going, left, 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 up, jump!
Oh, thank you. Hi, Simon.
Hello.
Hi. My family and myself, we watched you filming the scene where you jumped off the roof.
Oh,
onto
yes.
the car.
Yeah, yeah.
Bitterly cold weather.
It was raining.
Yes, it was. We went off the pub
That's
for
not
a drink,
Letchworth
so we waited 2 hours. When we came back, you jumped. But it was.
Do you want him to do it again right now?
It was bitterly cold at the time. Which scene did you find the most challenging? And just one more thing. Could you possibly sign my copy of The World's End?
Ah, you might just have started a terrible chain reaction.
Just to say, I didn't think you can, because there's been had so many requests that we've got to be.
Oh, it might be a bit unfair.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
About that.
Sorry.
The weather is always the toughest thing. Like, it's always tough. Like, I think so. When we were shooting here last year, you know, when we were doing those action scenes outside, you know, one of the benefits is that we were running. It's kind of better to be running around than standing still.
Yeah, I did a lot of running, and it was great in the cold because the night shoots, we did 3 weeks of nights, a lot of it here, and it was trying because it was so cold. And but I love it. You know, night shoots are fun because you get all wrapped up, and you can. It's harder for Edgar because he's outside all the time. I get to go back and sit in a chair and eat a pasty or whatever. And, enjoy that. But yeah, I think shooting the scene when we were driving away from Newton Haven in the car, which we did, some of which at Box Hill actually, with the windows all blown out, was because it was so cold that night.
Well, the most challenging night of the shoot was actually outside here, because the scene where they come out and Martin Freeman stops them, it was Martin Freeman's last day. He had to go away and then come back. And so usually you have like weather cover scenes, like sort of you have if it's raining, we could shoot this instead. But we had to like get rid of Martin. He had to go to New Zealand to the Hobbit premiere. So we had to shoot that scene outside when there was like a severe weather warning. So all of the crew, it had been on everybody's phone, said, oh, you know there's a severe weather warning, it's like 100-mile-an-hour wind. I don't know if you guys remember that, this is literally this time last year. So we just had to shoot through that, and amazingly, you can't really tell in the movie. Like, we just waited for breaks in the kind of the pouring rain and the wind. So that was easily the toughest day. So but ironically, it cuts together really well, like, but it was really rough.
I broke my hand in the tab.
Over in the Arena Tavern?
Yeah, in the Arena Tavern. I jumped, when I jump over the bar and I run out and all the blanks chase me. Of all the fighting I did, we did so many stunts, jumping off that roof. We did a lot of the stunt work in the movie. And I jumped over the bar at the Arena Tavern and I caught my finger and it spiraled, fractured a bone in the back of my hand. And because it was the first take, I didn't tell Edgar because it was like, well, we didn't get the shot. And so I kind of soldiered on. And only Phoebe, the camera assistant, saw me sort of go white and go, and I did another 6 takes on top of the broken hand.
Well, I could see that something was up with him, but this is classic Simon where like he's just, very diligent. And probably because as a producer as well, you just wanted to get the scene. I remember saying, are you okay to do another one? Yeah. High pitch, yeah. Are you okay? Yeah. And then for the rest of the movie, he had like a black cast on his hand.
Yeah.
That we'd take off. The final fight scene in The World Then, when like Andy and Gary are fighting, was when Simon had broken his hand. So it's pretty tough.
Nick was very gentle, wasn't he?
Yeah. Did any of your team sort of get mutinous with you during kind of any of these, when it's really cold outside, it's sort of 3 a.m. in the morning, it's kind of take 6, so can we do it one last time? How do you deal with that sort of passive aggression?
We'd get grumpy, but we'd never say no. It would sometimes it'd be like we'd have to, one of us would get all, because it'd be tiring. We had our unit base. Our hangout point was in the restaurant next door.
Yeah.
I remember Martin and Paddy and Ros all just like, we were filming outside here, we were doing the stuff when we were coming into the Mermaid.
Yeah.
But you just got to man up and get on with it,
Lady in the blonde video. Yeah. Yes, you man.
Out of sort of Sean, Officer Angel, and of course the fearless leader, was there a particular character you enjoyed playing the most? Was there a particular character you enjoyed watching? Like some brings or
Oh, Gary, without a doubt, Gary.
You seem like that kind of person. That's how I imagine you to be.
Gary's enormous fun to play because it's very fun as an actor when you can play on a number of levels, and there's Gary that you see, and then there's Gary that's underneath, and it's really fun to play both of those simultaneously because I always have to remember who he was and why he was doing what he was doing, at the same time as keeping up that very ebullient kind of crazy, everything's fine kind of attitude, and it was fun to play, and I have a lot of love for him, as a character, because he's a dick. I mean, he really is a dick.
He just seems like he has a lot more soul than the king seemed to be a bit of a...
Yeah, totally. He's a bit of a wounded animal, and as an actor that was fun. But I love playing both the other characters, and for varying reasons. But Gary was definitely the most fun.
Yeah, and the same. Fun to write as well. Fun to write that character. Because, you know, sort of, it's nice to sort of... I don't think he's like a bad guy, but he's definitely extremely selfish for a lot of the film.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was going to say, are you fans of this?
He was, yeah.
You don't actually have the tattoo, though.
No, I don't, but I was a big fan of the Sisters of Mercy, and I kind of wanted Gary to be a bit gothy, and we did. And so we, you know, I was very happy when I heard from the Sisters of Mercy that they were okay with us using... Andrew Eldridge was okay. I've never spoken to Andrew Eldridge, who's the lead singer of this amazing band. I've only ever spoken to his kind of road manager. Andrew doesn't speak, but I was starstruck. It was, yeah, very happy.
He's outside right now.
What? And if you were to shoot a sort of fourth in the, it wouldn't be trilogy anymore. It would be whatever,
well,
trilogy plus one.
Quadrilogy. They make up for the alien.
Yeah. You know, would you ever? Is it something that you might think about?
We'll definitely make another film. I've no doubt. I can't imagine a future in film without Edgar and Nick. But it doesn't have to abide by the rules we created for these films, which are that they are set in the UK and they are set now, and they are, you know, they take genres and use them as a kind of, as Edgar's always said, a Trojan horse to kind of tell a more human story. You know, these films, they're not just linked by the Cornetto ice cream. The Cornetto ice cream became a kind of jokey, connected device, really. But really, if you watch them as a trilogy, then there are themes which run throughout, and there's a link. The next film we make, we can separate from that and do something completely different, you know, like Cowboys or something.
So there you have it. So look, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for coming. I'm really sorry.
Well, we can do a couple more.
Couple more?
Yeah. This man had his hand up as well.
At the back, yeah, the back. Just look up for the back as well.
You choose.
Alright, we'll do that. Alright, we'll go back first. We'll come back to you. Go, let someone at the back. Fight it. Come on. Jennifer Lawrence.
That sounds so creepy.
Okay, did I say that out loud? I met Scorsese, De Niro. Yeah, I really like Jennifer Lawrence. I think she's amazing. She's got such a kind of... she's extraordinary.
This guy in the corner. Yeah, against the wall, yeah.
Do you ever finish a scene and think, I really need a pint now?
No, I quit drinking 3 years ago, so I did this film completely sober and had to use all my kind of memory of being a drinker, which was good in a way, because I think having a bit of distance from it helped. But I think Nick probably did a couple of times.
I would say, you know, if you're shooting in a pub all day, the last thing that you want to do at the end of the day is have a drink. Like, you do get, and I'm sure anybody who works in a bar would say the same thing, is that it's like sort of, you get sick of the sort of smell of it and stuff, so it's just like, yeah.
You're going, no, you don't.
Okay, I forget.
I'll get another
again. Love it.
Okay, final question.
Alright, this guy, come on, there was a big thing.
I just wanted to ask, how long was the writing process for The World's End, and what advice would you give for any couple of YouTubers just sort of trying to attempt their first screenplay?
I think, well, it was actually the shortest period of time writing the screenplay. Like, I think the first draft of it took maybe like 6 to 7 weeks, but we had been thinking about it for a very long time, because we had the idea just after Hot Fuzz. And so we'd been chewing on the story idea, and we had most of it like worked out. And so then when we actually got to write it, like it all came sort of flooding out really. And what we sort of like to do is go away somewhere and just kind of hash out the story and just brainstorm everything about it and about all of the characters and about the town itself. So for something like this, we'd write pages and pages. We'd have this big flip chart and write a page on every character, you know, about the town, and then do a page about every scene. So that way, when you actually start writing, you've got a good idea where you're going, and you've kind of got a roadmap to get there.
Yeah, and as we said to these guys over here, it's, you know, just get out there and do it. Don't wait for it to come to you. You know, it's something you've just got to just got to do, I think. You know?
You can do it. They made a movie in Letchworth. It's possible. It's so close.
On that note, Simon, Edgar, thank you so much.
Thank you.